So you wrote a book. Congratulations. You're probably now at the point where you've gone over it a million times and you might have even memorized it. Well, I got news for you. Writing a book is the easy part. The road to publishing? Now that's a different story. So, how do you even begin to publish? First, I highly recommend finding beta readers. These are the people who read your book first. This is after you've edited it yourself and before you send your manuscript off to the editor of your choice. See, beta readers help you find major plot holes in your work, inconsistencies, and even glaring character flaws. They can also double as great reviewers. So, who are these beta readers? Well, they can be friends, family, or maybe even writers that you know. See, the point is, it doesn't matter who they are exactly, so long as they understand and like the genre you're writing. It's also important to mention that some editors won't look at your manuscript until it's gone through this beta reader stage. Well, what about editors? If you're going to the traditional route of publishing, then the company you choose will have their own in house editors. But if you're going to self publish, you want to choose your editor very wisely. If you're intending to create a series, or in my case, books that are standalones but are in the same universe, I recommend using the same editor the whole way through. That way, there's no confusion. Editors can take a while to find. It took me a couple years to find the right one. Here's some key things to look out for on your search. Find someone who edits your genre. If you pick someone who only edits or reads romance and you wrote, say, a horror novel, some concepts might get lost. The next step, find someone in your price range. Aside from marketing and cover design, editing will be your most expensive investment. But that's okay. The saying, you get what you pay for, is pretty applicable here. Most editors will actually charge by word count. Now, this is a great segue into our next point, which is research reviews. Say you find someone who meets all the criteria. They're in your genre, affordable. Well, how's their experience level? Do they have poor reviews from other clients? These are super important questions as they're not just editing your manuscript. They're preparing your novel for the world. And their corrections make you a better writer because a good editor wants you to succeed. Well, every book needs not only a good editor, but also a great cover. Another saying goes, never judge a book by its cover. But if we're going to be honest with ourselves, we all still do it. Even authors do. So, if that statement is relevant, then shouldn't we just put as much attention into our cover as we do our editing? Let me put it to you this way. If your book has no grammatical errors and your cover is less than enticing, you may not get a whole lot of interest. On the other hand, if your book has the most amazing cover ever and the inside is full of errors, yeah, you might get initial interest, but the reviews might not be that great. So editing and cover design are of equal importance. So how do we get this rocking cover? Many ways. If you go the traditional route, you'll have a team of designers. But if you go the route of self-publishing, you can do pretty much anything. Some self-publishing platforms even offer pre-made covers. Many people who are just beginning the author life opt in on this option, mostly because these covers can be free. But some books require more intricate covers. In this case, you can choose to create your own with stock photos, which you can get at these websites. Now, if you're really adventurous, you can even take some of these photos and combine them in programs like Photoshop. I've even done this with some of my earlier books. But now that I have a full-time job and a bunch of other writing projects, I've opted in on the final option, which is hire someone. Now, if you go this route, please take your time in finding the right person to do your cover. Like editors, the artist must not only love what they do, but love the genre you write in. Research attend Comic-Cons if you can, and search social media. There are always artists who are looking for their next commission. Now we're ready to talk about publishing. Now, up until this point, most of what I said applies to mainly self-publishing. So let's talk about the traditional route for just a bit. This is probably the most difficult route to go. How do I know? Well, I've actually tried it before. And although it didn't work out for me, it may work out for you. So here's a step-by-step guide on how to go about this. Step 1, know your genre. This may seem like a very obvious step, but it's a very important one. Like editors, some publishers will only publish certain genres. Well, what if my book isn't a specific genre and it's a subgenre, you might say? That's fine. Look at other books out there that might be similar to yours in theme. Because this goes into our next step, which is to find a literary agent. What in the world is that? That is someone who acts as a mediator between you and the publisher. Contrary to popular belief, publishers rarely, if ever, seek out authors unless the author's made it super big via social media or they're already famous or popular. This isn't because the publisher isn't looking for the next best thing. I mean, they are. It's just they're already swamped with the authors they're representing. So they send their agents. Now, the agents themselves don't even seek out the authors. It's the authors who have to reach out to them. This is because, like the publishing company they represent, a literary agent has actually hundreds of letters from potential authors going across their desk on a daily basis. So, if that's the case, how in the world do you get their attention? Well, step 3, write a query letter. Okay, well, what's that? Well, it's sort of like a resume. This gets the attention of the agent to let them know a little bit more about you. And here's an example of how it should look. Now, remember, every agent will ask for something a little bit different, which is why it's so important to do the research about these agents and publishers they work for. In most cases, the letter will be set up the same, but some may ask for smaller details. So how is it going to be set up? Well, here you go. You'll have your name and information at the top. Then we go down to the date and then the agent's name and information. When you are addressing the agent, always, always, always address their name. If you don't, that letter is probably going to be tossed. Now for the body of the paragraph. A letter should only consist of 300 words in total. And I know it seems impossible to summarize, say, an 80,000 word book in 300 words. That's why a query letter takes a very long time to write. So here's how the paragraphs should be set up. Paragraph 1. Get the agent's attention. Give them a reason to keep reading your letter, and also mention the word count of your book and genre. This should really be a minimum of, say, 3 sentences. Paragraph 2. Give the synopsis of your book here, but keep the agent wanting to read more. Give the basics of your main characters, plot, and anything else important that they really need to know about the book. Now, paragraph 3. Give them your story now. This is your bio, and it should only consist of information that pertains to writing. If you got any awards for your writing, that should be mentioned, or maybe you were the president of a fancy and notable writing group. That should be mentioned too. Keep them wanting to know more about you, just like you want them to know more about your book. And always sign your name and print it underneath. If you are snail mailing this letter, send it with a self-addressed stamped envelope. Agents won't generally reply back with a yay or nay unless you have that. Now, in some cases, you won't even hear a response back, and sometimes the agents will even tell you on their website that if you don't hear back from them, it's a rejection. Now, this whole process can take weeks just to actually hear back from one person, unfortunately. But remember, they have it super busy. But if this is the route you want to take, please don't give up. It took Stephen King years to finally get accepted by a publisher. In fact, he stated that he got so many rejections that the nail which held the rejections to the wall fell out and he replaced it with a spike. If you want to look at another example, J.K. Rowling, one of the most well-known authors in the world. She was stuck in poverty when she was finally accepted, and it wasn't even a publisher that initially said yes to her. It was the publisher's child that read her manuscript and loved it. So if you get your first rejection, start that nail on the wall and keep going. So maybe like me, you've decided you'd like to try your hand at self-publishing. Wonderful. Let's dive on in. You already know that you'll need beta readers, an editor, and a cover of some kind. But what else is there? Well, you need to decide on your publishing platform. There are many out there to choose from, but the most common ones I've seen are Amazon and Lulu. I've always gone with Lulu, but I know a lot of indie authors who have had much success with Amazon. Both of these companies make it super easy to upload your book and cover, and they walk you through formatting. Yes, you'll have to type up your work if it's not already on the computer and format it to how the publisher requests. And if you're not super tech savvy and maybe don't know how to format the books, it's okay. There's a lot of tutorials on YouTube, and even some companies will offer suggestions and a hand on their FAQs. You can also opt into finding someone who will be willing to assist you. Now, once you've completed the uploading, you'll have to get an ISBN, which looks like this. Now, Lulu, and I'm sure Amazon does this too, will offer ISBNs. That way, you don't have to go and purchase one yourself. But this will technically make your printing company the publisher, not necessarily you. If you'd like more freedom in this and the title as publisher to your name, you can always go to bookware.com and purchase the ISBNs for yourself. You can even get them in a bundle if you're doing a series, which will make it cheaper in the long run. Once everything looks great, your platform will probably ask you what price you'd like to set your book at. Please make it reasonable. If you have a thin book and place the price at, say, $15, you might not get a lot of people purchasing it. If you're not sure what to set it at, your platform may suggest a price. I recommend to look at other books you have in your library. See what other authors are setting their books at. When that's done, go ahead and hit the publish button. At this point, your book will be available to purchase. Now, I don't know how Amazon does their distribution, but Lulu doesn't do it automatically. You have to opt in on the option. But when you do, your book will be available through Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble's online only though. And it will also be displayed on Google. You're probably wondering if there are any catches to this publishing thing. Well, there are certainly things to look out for. We know of traditional publishing, self-publishing, and the one I would say you want to be careful of is what we call a vanity press. Now, for those of us who've gone around the block a few times with this publishing, we kind of cringe at that term. See, a vanity press is a subsidy publishing company where the author pays money to get their work published. Now, from the ones I've seen, the money an author has to fork over is usually a pretty big amount. I've been actually in contact with some of these companies when I was searching for a traditional publisher, and sometimes vanity presses are often insanely persistent in their endeavors to get an author under their belt. And I found that some of them don't always show as much devotion in an author's work as self-publishing and traditional publishers have. Oftentimes, budding authors get caught in this trap because they want to have a publisher name with their book. I totally get that. But there are actually independent publishers out there that are searching for the next best thing, and they won't charge you. Keep in mind that a traditional publisher and literary agent will not actually get a dime from you. They make money when you make money. So if you want to know more about what a vanity press is and you're still not certain about some things, I want to encourage you to please do your own research. Find out what works for you and take your time. See, I chose self-publishing because I felt I had more freedom to choose. I was able to choose my own designer, my own editor, my own, well, everything. And I like that control. If you decide that a traditional publisher works for you, woohoo! And if you land an agent, we'll have to have a party. Just know that if you are fortunate to get this far, you may be given a contract by this publishing company. If you do, please read it carefully. I cannot stress that enough. I'm not saying they're going to try and scam you because obviously they want the same thing, the next best-selling author. But there may be some wording and some clauses in the contract that you might not be comfortable with or understand. But no matter the outcome of what you choose, just please keep moving forward. Keep bettering yourself as an author and artist, and I'll see you in the next video where I'm going to talk about how to sell a book, which is actually a bit different than the marketing video I recently posted. See you then.